We need to talk, and this is important. Hello, guys, and welcome to the channel. It is November. It is Movember. It is, I guess, Men's Health Awareness Month. Things like prostate cancer, bowel cancer, issues that men face. And I want to talk about what's happened to me over the last 5 weeks. It's not fair, actually, to say what's happened to me. It's what's happened to my dad. My dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer around, I guess, 3.5 weeks ago. This came as a major shock. He had no symptoms. He is a fit man for his age. He's 64 years old. He plays football a number of times a week. He's very active. He had no symptoms. I want to talk about what's happened to him. I want to talk about what you need to look for. I want to talk about raising awareness in case you're having any symptoms which you really need to get checked out. I also want to talk about my own experience with ulcerative colitis. A lot of you guys know that I've got irritable bowel disease, and I've had this since I was 19 years old. I've been through all kinds of different medications. Right now, I'm on the best medication I've ever been on in my life, and things I think I finally feel normal. But I have lost friends to bowel cancer because they've ignored the symptoms. And there's a lot of parallels with bowel cancer symptoms and IBD symptoms. And I just want to raise awareness. So let's talk about prostate cancer. This is a trigger warning because we're going to talk about cancer. If you don't want to know about any of this, click off the video and that's fine. But I do implore you to listen because I think it's crucial. Too many men die in and around the world from medical issues that can be fixed if they go to the doctors. This is the big issue. So 5 weeks ago, my dad has a general sort of health checkup, right? He's 64 years old. He goes in for, an MOT, as he calls it, right? They're just checking your heart, all of that stuff. They say to him, because of your age, we should do a PSA test. This is a prostate-specific antigen test, just a blood test, and we'll see if anything's going on with your prostate. The test results come back, and his prostate score was 4.7 or 4.65, something like that. Only fractionally above what a man of his age should be producing on the scale. So he was not really worried. None of us were really worried about that. The GP, though, however, the general practitioner, the doctor, effectively, was like, we should do another test here. We should do a follow-up. And I think that's standard procedure anyway if you do have an elevated level. So 2 weeks go by. He has another blood test. And again, it is raised. This time it was 4.75, or kind of around that figure. So again, only slightly increased from the previous test. This meant they were going to put him on the pre-cancerous pathway. This came as a massive shock to us because I've never dealt with anything like that before, and my family haven't really dealt with anything like this before. They told us not to worry. This is just, we're going to put you through. You've got an increased PSA score. We're going to start doing additional tests just to see what's going on. So I take him to the hospital for an MRI scan, a special kind of MRI on the pelvic region. For a man, they put what's the stuff called? I can't remember what it's called. Like the inject you with the fluid, right? So things show up better. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, he's injected with all that stuff, so they've got higher resolution, or they can easily see whatever's going on down there. The results come back from that, and they say your prostate is slightly enlarged, but not massively so. It's not deformed, and I don't think they could see any other, untoward things going on down in that region. So the next step was to go for a biopsy. So again, I take him back to the hospital. He has a biopsy done on his prostate. They took 22 samples of the prostate. Now, this is all done with local anesthetic, so you don't feel it. Obviously, it's quite uncomfortable and, whatever, but it needs to be done, right? So he goes in, he has that done, and this is maybe 3 weeks ago. We then get a call for him to go to the hospital to discuss the results with a urology consultant, which we were kind of kidding ourselves. Actually, it's probably okay. He's just going to say, oh, you're fine. But why would they go to that much hassle to call you in and give you... So I think deep down we knew something was going on. He gets the news that out of the 22 samples, 18 of them were medium-grade prostate cancer. There's a thing called the Gleason scale, and I think he was sort of mid-range in that. And the doctor said, yeah, this is a medium-grade cancer. We need to deal with this before it gets out of hand. Now, the real kicker here is my dad had no symptoms. He was not frequently urinating. He was not finding it difficult to urinate. He was not passing blood in his urine. He was just fine. There was no symptoms. But this can happen to men around his age. This is why the NHS in England were testing for it. And like I said, it was a random test. It picked it up. Prostate cancer is generally a slow-growing cancer, but it is quite insidious because it doesn't really present with symptoms until it's kind of doing nefarious things you don't want it to do. Although there are cases where it can present with symptoms, and yeah, it is still very early and can be dealt with. So the doctor says, we're going to put this in front of a multidisciplinary medical board, various consultants with various areas of expertise, and we're going to basically come to a recommendation. They came back and said, because of his overall health, his fitness, and where this cancer is and where he is in his life, they recommended a radical robotic laparoscopic prostatectomy, which is essentially to just remove the prostate. They diagnosed him with localized prostate cancer, which I suppose in some ways is kind of like the best one you can be diagnosed with. This just sounds insane to say because no one wants to be diagnosed with any of this. But because it's localized in the prostate, if it's just in the prostate, they remove it and then it is gone. So, I guess 11 days ago, we got a call from the hospital and they said, yeah, we're going to book you in around the 27th of November and we can have this done and that'll be that. So we were kind of gearing up for that and getting ready for that. They rang back the same day in the afternoon and said, actually, would you like to come in tomorrow? So like I'm saying, 10 days ago, would you like to come in and have your surgery? We can literally do you tomorrow if you'd like to come in. So that came as a bit of a shock. Right? It was like, well, suddenly we've got to get my dad, get him to the hospital. So I drive him up to the hospital, North Staff's Hospital in Stoke in the UK. We go up there, he gets admitted, he has all of his pre-op checks, everything comes back fine, he goes in for surgery. Now, I'm sure a lot of you out there, you've dealt with cancer, you've dealt with surgery, you've dealt with all of that, but it is a worrying time for the family, this is, because I mean, I've been under general anesthetic. I've had operations on my spine for injuries I sustained when I played football and stuff like that. And it is never a great feeling to be sort of put to sleep. But like, to me, it's always felt like you go to sleep, you just close your eyes and you wake up straight away. There's no like sense of time. But for the family, there is. And it was a very long morning, afternoon and evening at not Stafford Hospital, North Staff's, that's it, North Staff's Stoke Hospital, just hoping that it was fine. And we eventually got the call. All went well, and he's now recovering. You can go and see him. So we went to see him, and yeah, he was, still high off the anesthetic and all of that stuff. The next day, we got to take him out of the hospital and bring him home. The surgeon doing his rounds in the morning said, yeah, everything seems to have gone well. He didn't really find anything untoward in there. They removed the prostate. It's now gone off for testing. It's now 10 days after that. My dad, you wouldn't even know anything was wrong with him if you looked at him. You wouldn't even know he's had surgery. I know it's keyhole surgery, so you do recover a bit quicker from that. He does have a catheter. He doesn't have bladder control. That'll be something he's going to have to regain again. And he will be able to do that because it is totally regainable, and he will do that. And so we're just waiting now for him to get the results to say if the prostate, what actually was going on in there, and has it spread anywhere? Does he need any additional treatment? But I think we got a really good result. And I guess what I want to talk about is the symptoms to look out for this. There is also Sir Chris Hoy in the UK, a cyclist, track athlete, Olympic champion, world champion, all this. He was insane. He was incredible. He unfortunately has been diagnosed with terminal prostate cancer, and his diagnosis is very unfortunate. So he's in his mid-40s at the moment. A few years ago, he went to he basically went to the hospital, to the doctors, and said, look, I've got a shoulder ache. He's a professional top-tier athlete. They do get aches in their bodies. They scanned him and went, well, actually, you've got a massive tumor on your bones. This isn't good. You need testing. Came back that actually he had stage 4 cancer, and it spread all throughout his bones and pretty much throughout his system. But it had originated in his prostate. So he's running, he's a very courageous individual, but he's running a campaign in the UK to lower the age for the PSA check. This is where I want to talk to you guys directly, because if you're in your mid to late 30s, there is still a chance you can be suffering from prostate cancer, but not really knowing about it. I would go to the GP. Based off everything I've seen with my dad, I would go to the doctors and say, can I have a PSA test, right? I'm 37 years old. I need to now get one done. My dad has got prostate cancer. Hopefully has had prostate cancer. It is, if detected early, can be dealt with. I think like if you've got symptoms as well, so if you notice a change in urination, if you're urinating more often, you need to go to the toilet more often. Often this will manifest at night. It starts disrupting your sleep. If this keeps happening, go to the doctors. If you see blood in your urine, go to the doctors. Doctors may do a prostate exam with their finger. Now, this is nothing to be worried about. I know a lot of men, again, men are terrible for this. I know a lot of men, though, don't like anything going on down in that region. It's nothing. I've had this done numerous times. And in some ways, me and my dad had a kind of a laugh to each other and a joke where I said, it's funny, really. I've had all of these colonoscopies and every single one begins with a prostate exam by the doctor. And they've never found any kind of anything to worry about yet. We didn't know that this does run in our family and that my dad would be diagnosed with it ultimately. So in some ways, I've kind of had earlier checks for it. But a finger exam on the prostate isn't a total check. My dad had that done and there was nothing found there. He needed the PSA test. It's more reliable. So my message is, if you are mid-30s, definitely if you're getting into your late 30s or early 40s, reach out to your doctor, ask them for a PSA test. It's just a blood test. You almost certainly at that age probably won't have symptoms. This is kind of the only way to detect it. As you get older, you start getting into your 50s, into your 60s. This is where it generally tends to manifest in men. You will generally start getting symptoms of you're urinating more often, maybe blood in the urine, or it's really hard to pass urine. This is because the prostate becomes very enlarged and it sort of presses on the bladder, closes the urethra up, and it's very difficult for a man to urinate. In that case, get to the doctors, right? But this is just kind of, I just wanted to talk about this because I knew nothing about this until, like I said, 5 weeks ago. And I've been through all this. I mean, this is selfish to say, but I've been through all this stuff of like, what's the point of anything? You know, I'm not even going through this, but what's the point of this? A major shock has happened. And I know a lot of you guys would have dealt with stuff like this before. You get a major shock and you just sort of think, what is the point of everything? But there is a point. And the point is you're there living your life. You're getting out there. You're getting things done and you are enjoying it. I lost the enjoyment in everything I was doing because it just became my sole focus to learn as much as I could about prostate cancer, look at all my dad's test results, what was the best way we could treat him, what was the best hospital, who were the best doctors, how can we get this sorted, how can we deal with him, what's his recovery going to be like, who's going to look after him, how are we going to transport him around, all of these things. And I know a lot of people are going through this, but it just made me feel like, what is the point? But there is a point. You have to realize this. And I'm at that stage now where, yeah, it's been 5 weeks from hell, but I am realizing, yeah, there is a point to all of this. You've got to get on with it. And I know my dad wouldn't want me not just giving up effectively because that's insane. You know what I mean? So yeah, the prostate cancer thing, guys, if you're in your late 30s, like sort of mid to late 30s, consider getting a PSA test. If you're in your 40s, consider definitely getting one. If you've got a history of it in your family, definitely go and get one done. If you are older and you start having symptoms of frequent urination, especially overnight, maybe you've got blood in the urine or you're finding it very hard to pass urine, go to your doctors because you might have an enlarged prostate that needs looking at. You can just naturally have an enlarged prostate, and I think it does get bigger in men over the years anyway, but it is still best to get it checked because if it is cancer and if it's caught early, like as in my dad's case, hopefully it can be dealt with. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, this all ties into men's health, is I've lost friends to bowel cancer. And a lot of you guys know I've got ulcerative colitis, which is irritable bowel disease, which has a lot of similarities to bowel cancer, especially in the way it presents itself. If you go to the toilet for a number 2 and it is not the usual consistency, make a note and think, okay, next time I go to the toilet, I'll check again. If it's still the same and you check again and it's still the same and you're noticing this over a couple of days, maybe even over a week, I recommend go to your GP or go to your doctors, go to the hospital, whatever, and say, I've had a change in my stool habits or the quality, the consistency of your stool. They may get a thing called the Bristol stool chart out. I don't know whether they still use this. It's got different like shapes and sizes of stool, and they'll say, what does yours look like? And you have to kind of tell them. They might not use that anymore, I don't know. But all they would do is go, okay, we need a stool sample. So that would be you obviously going to the toilet, taking a sample, it gets sent off, and then they go from there. And then they would test and see what's going on. In a lot of cases, things like you've suddenly got diarrhea is because you've had like a massive curry, right? Or maybe you've got a little bit of food poisoning or something like that's happened, right? It's not going to be cancer. It's not going to be irritable bowel disease. But if you are noticing a change, go and check it out. If you notice blood, go to the doctor straight away. If you go to the toilet and you bleed, again, this can be a lot of different things, right? I won't list them all, but it can be a lot of different things. But it is definitely time to go and get that checked at the doctors. Don't ignore these things. My own diagnosis, I mean, I'm 37 now. I was diagnosed when I was 19 originally with Crohn's disease, and then it was changed to ulcerative colitis. It was Crohn's, then it became indeterminate Crohn's colitis, then it became ulcerative colitis. They all have a lot of the similar symptoms, but yeah, ulcerative colitis is what I deal with. So I sort of didn't want to know. Sorry about that. My dad just called me. What was I saying? Yeah, about ulcerative colitis and all that stuff. I was basically dragged to the hospital by my mom. Like, I just was bleeding non-stop for weeks and weeks and weeks on the toilet. I'd lost loads of weight. I couldn't eat anything. I was being sick. I just thought I had food poisoning. Yeah, I'm Googling at the same time and thinking, I think I've got bowel cancer. But I didn't want to go to the hospital. How crazy is this to say? And men do this. They just do it. You're like, no, I don't want anything going on down there. It's not happening. I'm fine. I got dragged to the hospital. They immediately, I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks. They put me in the hospital. They treated me. They said, look, you don't have what you think you've got. You've got ulcerative colitis. Well, you've got Crohn's disease, they said at the time. But you've got ulcerative colitis. Your intestines were severely ulcerated. That's because I let it go on for too long. If I'd gone to the hospital straight away, if I'd gone to the doctor straight away, I wouldn't have been as bad as I was. I wouldn't have caused irreparable damage to my large bowel, which I did cause. It would have been sorted. In terms of the friends that I've lost through this, again, it's the same story. And some of these people, I won't name names, but some of these people, you think they are very intelligent people. They are, they're not idiots. They may even have a history of bowel cancer in their family. And yet they're willing to see the symptoms, see the blood, see the mucousy stools, go to the toilet more often, and just ignore them for years. And then it's too late. Don't ignore the symptoms, guys. If you have got a change, if you listen to anything in this video, it's been a bloody video of rambling again, but if you listen to anything in this video, if you notice a change in your bowel habit, you go to the toilet more often, the stools are not the same quality. They're different. They're maybe loose. You might be noticing mucus in the stools as well. You might be noticing blood. Go to the doctors, get checked out. If you're urinating more overnight, if you're finding it difficult to urinate, if there's blood in the urine, go to the doctors. If you're getting towards your late 30s, go to the doctors. Why not have a PSA test done? It's a simple blood test. Could save your life. And in my dad's case, I know he was 64. I know he was within the age range of the NHS testing, and they did test him. And they found it and they dealt with it. It can be dealt with. All right, guys, I'll leave the video at that. I think in some ways as well, I needed to make this video for myself just to get just to get it out of my system. But I wanted to raise awareness as well. I'll put some links in the video description below to various prostate cancer charities, and I'll throw in some stuff about bowel cancer and things like that as well. Yeah, don't ignore the symptoms, guys. Please don't ignore the symptoms. All right, I've been Stylosa, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.